All right. Well, welcome to our call tonight. We are so excited that you have taken time out of your evening to learn about this amazing solution that is so important to Megan and has been a really great part of her health journey. And Megan and I are part of this wonderful community called the Healthy Living Revolution. And our goal is to come alongside of individuals and families and to help them take their health back in ways that are simple, doable, and fun. So we're going to share with you a little bit of why we're so passionate. So the first is that there are two really startling trends that are happening in our world today. First, our environmental toxins are increasing. So whether this is products we're putting on our skin, the air that we're breathing, the water that we're drinking, the food that we're eating, the pharmaceuticals that we're taking, we are exposed today to so many more toxins than our ancestors were. And at the same time that our environmental toxins are increasing, our food quality is severely decreasing. So I love this image because this gentleman is in the center aisles of the grocery store. And I know in my own journey, like 8 to 10 years ago, I made this big shift and I decided to quit looking at calories and fat and just start looking at the ingredients in my food. And I remember I was so mad. There was this really expensive bread I was buying every week. And I looked at the ingredient label and it was like this long. There were like 50 different ingredients in it, full of stuff I couldn't even pronounce. And the problem is, and usually when we're shopping in these center aisles, right, we tend to buy more food-like products. Some of what we're eating and consuming every day that we consider food really is more food-like products. Our food should really be our first line of defense against this increase in toxicity in our environment, but it's actually one of the biggest culprits of our toxicity, and that's really scary. It's full of preservatives, enhancers, artificial colors. And the results of, these two things at once are pretty frightening. So this is Dr. David Katz. He's head of prevention at Yale. I actually had the privilege of seeing him speak in person. I think he's like the most brilliant person I've ever seen in real life. But he said years ago that this may be the first generation of children to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents. Since he said that, it's been proven true that this will be, if we don't make changes, this will be the first generation of children to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents. The CDC confirmed this 2 months ago when they decreased the life expectancy from 77 to 74, which if you think about the fact that we are at a time when we have more medical advances than we have ever had, and the fact that we are doing something that is causing our life expectancy to decrease is really scary. So by age 12, many of our children have developed the beginning stages of hardening of the arteries. 1 in 3 children is obese, 1 in 3 will develop diabetes, and more than 25% of children take prescription drugs on a regular basis. This is Dr. Bill Sears. He's known as America's pediatrician. He actually found our community a little over 20 years ago when he himself was diagnosed with colon cancer. But he shares that really us as adults, we aren't doing any better. So 1 in 3 people live with some form of cardiovascular disease. And this is the stat that just blows my mind. 1 in 3 women will have cancer and 1 in 2 men. And it's really not fair because it's the women piece that blows my mind, which the male piece is worse. But for some reason, 1 in 3 women, there's 5 of us here on the call tonight, will have cancer and 1 in 2 men. And I think the reason why this gets me is because I'm shocked that more people don't know this. If these numbers are so high, how is this not more talked about? It just blows my mind. 1 in 3 will have diabetes by 2050 and 1 in 3 is obese. But that's the end of the depressing stuff. We will be positive from here on out, I promise. I got really excited. You'll learn my story at the end, but I got really excited a couple years ago when I learned that 75% of all chronic disease is preventable. This quote down here on the bottom is the reason why we're on this call tonight. And the truth is that there are things that we will deal with in our health journey that we have no control over. But the truth also is that many Americans are dying of chronic lifestyle-related diseases. And I think many people that are dealing with things now really we haven't known, but we're starting to piece together the link between lifestyle, toxicity and disease. So there is stuff that we can do to feel empowered. I learned a lot about food and disease for 2 years, and I felt like I couldn't buy anything at the grocery store. But this community is what taught me a lot and what taught me to feel empowered and encouraged instead of discouraged and throwing my hands up in the air. So oxidative stress is linked to poor health. Well, what the heck is oxidative stress? Well, as long as you're breathing, you have it. So we all are dealing with oxidative stress in our body. And it is the root of all disease, aging, and death. So what it is, it's in our body. We've got these free radicals, and they are just all day long pinging our cells. And every time they hit our cells, they cause damage to our cells. But, God, Mother Nature knew that we were going to have this stress in our body. And they gave us a perfect answer. They gave us antioxidants. And what happens when we eat antioxidants is they get into our body, they donate an electron to the free radical, and they neutralize the free radical. In fact, I heard it be compared to a frat boy. That oxidative stress is like a frat boy just flinging all around, messing up everything everywhere he goes, wreaking havoc. And whenever you eat antioxidants, the antioxidant is like the girl that comes along and marries him and makes him like a productive member of society and a wonderful father. And I'm like, that really kind of is what happens in our body. That's crazy. So I love that comparison. But think of it like an apple. When you cut open an apple and that flesh is exposed to the air and it begins to brown, to rust, and to age, we know if we take lemon juice, an antioxidant, and we squeeze it over the flesh, it delays the aging process. So antioxidants really are anti-aging. They're anti-aging internally, and so eventually externally as well. But that's really, really powerful, and it's the root of disease. So we all know where we get, antioxidants from, right? From fruits and vegetables. But today's mass-produced produce is packing a much less nutritional punch. And there's two main reasons for this. The first is soil depletion, which I imagine many of you are probably pretty well versed on. But the second is that it's mass produced. So I can go up to my local grocery store and buy just about any fruit or vegetable I like in most any season. But in order for that to be available to me like that, we are picking our plants long before they are ripened on the vine. And I heard this be compared to a baby, and I think it's really, really cool. So we know the difference between a baby at 40 weeks and 38, 38 weeks, 36, 36, 34. Well, the fruit or the vegetable is the baby of that plant. And it's meant to be connected to its nutrient source until it's ripened and ready to fall off. And we are removing it so soon, and then our food is depleted. So this image, I think, actually describes why those statistics from the doctors are so terrifying, because the news that fruits and vegetables are good for you is not new news. I mean, I think we're figuring out they're even more powerful than we thought. But I think we don't realize the uphill battle that we're really up against. So this was the iron content that was present in a bowl of spinach in 1953. In 1997, so over 20 years ago, you had to eat 43 bowls of spinach to get the same iron content that you got in 1953. And that's just iron. So the truth is that in spinach, there's a lot more than just iron that's there, that's helping our body. But this is why we really are, I think, struggling in terms of health, is because our food is more depleted than we realize. So back in the 1950s and 1960s, they thought that there were 12 essential nutrients in food that we needed. That's when they came up with the multivitamin. They decided to man-make, isolate it, put it in a vitamin. They thought we were bridging the gap. But obviously, we have not gotten any healthier in the past 50 or 60 years. And it's relatively newer research that we're learning just how abundant the nutrients are in our plants. So they've actually located over 20,000 different unique nutrients in one apple. They've located over 25,000 in one blueberry and over 14,000 in one avocado. They've only named 140 of the 14,000 in the avocado. I mean, we're scratching the surface. But what we're learning is that our food is full of so much more than we originally thought, and that it all works synergistically together. So if you are a vitamin taker or supplement taker, I'm just going to throw out random names because I don't really know how this works, but I know they figured out, like, okay, if you take magnesium, you actually have to also take selenium because it activates the magnesium, and then you need the vitamin K to activate the selenium or something like that, right? And that's because we were never really meant to take isolated synthetic vitamins. There's not a vitamin C tree. We were meant to eat the apple that has the vitamin C along with everything else that it was meant to work with. And there's two awesome examples of synergy that I love to give. The first is that an apple itself only has 5.7 milligrams of vitamin C. But when you eat it and digest it, it's the same as taking a 1,500 milligram isolated megadose vitamin C tablet. And that's because that vitamin C is turned on and activated by all of its buddies that are also present. Lycopene is found in a tomato, and lycopene is known to fight prostate cancer. But they're finding that when they remove that lycopene from the tomato, it has zero effect on the cancer. And that's because, again, that lycopene is meant to be triggered and be working with all of its buddies that are in there. So this is 400 named ingredients that are in an apple, okay? So for a long time, the government said 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, and then they increased it to 7 to 13. I've read some studies that suggest in the next 50 years, we will need 30 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, because they are so depleted and because we're fighting the increase in toxicity in our environment. But 7 to 13 is if you're healthy and you aren't very active. If you exercise or you're an athlete, if you're pregnant or you're fighting disease, you're actually supposed to have 16 to 18 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, which is crazy. I work really hard and I maybe get between 5 and 7. So the government did this big campaign and they said more matters, and they're right. Because anyone, even with the better than standard American diet, is not getting too many fruits and vegetables in. So I'm so thankful. I was trying to keep myself from saying Jung, and I said Michelle. Megan is so thankful that at some point in our lives, someone introduced us to Juice Plus, and it took a little while for it to make sense for Megan, as you're getting here soon. But I love to tell the backstory about Juice Plus. So it was developed over 30 years ago by a doctor. His name was Dr. Smokey Santillo. He was more of a holistic practitioner, and he helped cancer patients juice. And his own dad was diagnosed with lymphoma. He was given 3 weeks to live. And so Dr. Smokey decided he had to find a way to make his juice more powerful. So instead of just juicing the fruits and vegetables, he was going to take the whole thing with the pit, the peel, the rind, the seeds, even the leaves from the vine whenever possible, because a lot of the nutrition is in the parts that we throw away. He blended it up in a Vitamix. He took what was left over and he dehydrated it at a cold temperature to preserve the nutrients. And that resulted in a powder. So I don't know if you can see this, but this is a capsule full of powder. We call it powdered produce. And he just started pumping his dad full of this powder. And he ended up living for 6 more years. And not only did he live, but he thrived. He had good quality of life, which is so rare in cancer patients today. And it was at that point that Dr. Smokey realized that he was onto something. It took him a couple of years to find a company like this that would share the information in this way, because this is not a vitamin or a supplement. It's not going to sit on a store shelf. It's food in a capsule, and it would go bad. But he found that company, and now it's been on the market for over 25 years, which is incredibly rare in this space. And so I want you to take a second before I tell you what makes it so unique. I want you to look at all of this variety, all of these colors, all of these unique plants. There are things on here I never even eat, but I get them every day through my Juice Plus. But what I want you to know is that food is information to your body. So when we saw those 400 nutrients that are in an apple, every time you eat those nutrients, those specific nutrients do different things. They go to different areas of your body, and they go to the same spot every time, which I think is really cool. So if they want to test you for breast cancer, they're going to give you the same mineral that every time it goes in your body, it goes straight to your breast. So think about what could happen if you had this variety, because it really isn't only about servings, right? If we have the same 3, plants every day, we might not get optimal wellness. But if you had this variety every single day with all of those thousands of nutrients that do different things in your body consistently, what that could do week over week, month over month, year over year. It's pretty amazing. Okay, so there are 3 things that make Juice Plus so unique. The first is my favorite. It's food. So I don't know if you can see it, but it has a nutrition label, just like a bag of carrots would. It is not a vitamin or a supplement. If you can eat food, you can eat Juice Plus. It does not have a warning label. You can't overdose. When my kids are 6 months old, I open the capsule and put it in their food. Because as long as you can have food, have fruits and vegetables, you can have Juice Plus. So it's full of that phytonutrition that you saw as in an apple, all those nutrients. Not isolated synthetic vitamins, non-GMO, dairy-free, and gluten-free. It's NSF certified. NSF is a third party that validates that what we say is in our product is and nothing more. But the reason why I love NSF is that they ensure that these powders are free of any herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, yeast, mold, bacteria, and heavy metals, which is important when I'm opening it up and giving it to my 6-month-old. It's also why the U.S. women's volleyball team just made Juice Plus their exclusive nutritional support, is because that certification makes it okay for Olympic and professional athletes as well. So finally, whenever it hit the market 25 years ago, people just started having unique experiences. And so they decided they wanted to see, what is this doing on human beings with blood drawn? And so we are the most researched nutritional product in the world. We have 38 published studies. We have 9 underway. We've been researched at MD Anderson Cancer Center, Brigham Young, Yale, Vanderbilt, some of the most prestigious facilities in the States and abroad. So these are not being done in Juice Plus's backyard, right? These are being done at prestigious universities and published in amazing journals. And I'm going to take a second to tell you my favorite study because it's awesome. So this was done at the University of Maryland and published in the JACC. And this study is the brainchild of a group of cardiologists. And these cardiologists know that over 50% of heart attacks happen 4 hours after a high-fat meal. And I want to remind you that heart disease is the #1 killer of both men and women. And so they wanted to see the effects of Juice Plus on heart health. So they took a group of people to McDonald's and they fed them a pretty standard McDonald's breakfast. And then they waited 4 hours and they measured the constriction in their brachial artery. That's this gray bar that you see, okay? So everybody had about 40 to 50% constriction just 4 hours later. That's how much harder their body was working to pump their blood through. And then they divided the group up into 3. They put one group on the placebo. They put one group on our fruits and our veggies, our red and our green. And then this last group over here was on our fruits, veggies, and our purples, okay? And then they waited just 28 days. So this purple bar over here is 28 days later. Took them back to McDonald's, fed them the same meal, waited 4 hours, measured the constriction in their artery. The placebo group had a slight reduction. They went from, they had the least amount to begin with, and they also had a slight reduction. The group on our fruits and our veggies, they had 60% less constriction just 28 days later. And then the group on all 3 with our wonderful berries, they went from almost 50% constriction down to less than 1%. So here's what is so cool about this study. I mean, there's multiple things, but here's the 2 things that stand out to me. Number 1, they still ate the McDonald's and their bodies responded better. Even though they, something came up in their life, their body responded better to it. But number 2, these people changed nothing else. So even I feel like right now with the wellness movement, we're learning so much about food and we're worried about being so good that sometimes it kind of makes you want to say screw it all. But the truth is there's some pregnancy studies that say you're better off in pregnancy consuming more good than you are eliminating the bad. But that's not only true for pregnancy, that's true for all of us. If it's a change that we can make, that we can be consistent with, and our body recognizes it and our body recognizes food, it works. Food works in our body. So that's what this is about. This is not about being perfect. This is about maybe still eating the McDonald's, but knowing that your body is going to respond even better. So then if you want to consider that your body is like a car, okay? A car needs oil and gas, a high quality of each to run well. And our bodies are the same. Our body needs micronutrition and macronutrition. We know that if we skip an oil change or we use a crummy oil, as long as we have gas in the tank, our car's still running, but likely there's problems brewing. And that's where I think a lot of Americans are in terms of the oil or the micronutrition. The micronutrition is what you saw that's in an apple. It's what you get in our capsules. It's a ton of micronutrition. It's what leads to cellular health and wellness. And I think many Americans are just deficient in micronutrition. And so we have enough gas in the tank. We have enough macronutrition that we're able to get through our day and do what we're doing, but we're not feeling great while we're doing it. So our company saw that we have a lot of macronutrition in our world, but very little of it is of high quality. So that's where our shakes come in. These are chocolate and vanilla. These will actually fill your belly and they are delicious. They're low glycemic, so they stabilize your blood sugar. The number 1 thing my friends tell me is they actually keep them full. And it's not because it has 50 grams of protein. It's because it keeps your blood sugar stable. They're vegan and non-GMO, gluten and dairy-free, full of plants and powerful prebiotic fibers and oligosaccharides. Oligosaccharides help to heal the lining of your gut. So that's really important at a time when many people are dealing with leaky gut issues. And then finally, it'll be 2 years in October that our company introduced our Juice Plus Omega Blend. Most Americans are deficient in high quality omega oils. We know that they support the heart, brain, joints, skin, and eyes, and many people are bridging the gap with a fish oil, which has 2 problems. Number 1, our fish are toxic. So we started this whole talk out about talking about the toxicity in our environment. But number 2, it's not sustainable. It takes 3 to 4 pounds of fish to make 1 ounce of fish oil. And our fish are already way overfarmed. So we decided what's really amazing is that the fish actually get their omega-3s from the algae. So we went straight to the algae and we decided to make it a totally plant-based omega and a full spectrum omega. So it's omega-3, 5, 6, 7, and 9. It's also the only omega available that is cold pressed. So our capsule is put together using cold press technology, which then doesn't degrade the quality of the oil inside. Other omegas have to be heated up in order to be encapsulated, and that also heats up the oil. I'll tell you my story about the omegas at the end. I love them. But one of the coolest things about Juice Plus is it's affordable. I was just talking with my friend today, and she was like, I went and bought some organic apples, and they were over $2. So this is, what's really cool is that you can come in through many doors when it comes to Juice Plus. There are all all sorts of options if you're interested in getting started, but it is very much affordable. I spend less on my Juice Plus every day than I used to spend on my daily coffee. So I want to wrap this part up by a quote from Dr. Richard Du Bois. He was head of infectious disease in Atlanta, Georgia. He's been named America's top doc multiple times. And he was one of the first of now thousands of healthcare professionals to recommend Juice Plus. And people will say, if this is so awesome, how come I haven't heard about this yet? Or how come my doctor isn't telling me about it? And the truth is, even though we've been around for 25 years, which is pretty unheard of in the supplement game, it's still the beginning. It's still a grassroots effort. People are starting really, and even doctors, starting to really see the connection between food and disease. So there are thousands of healthcare professionals that recommend Juice Plus. I don't know if your doctor does, but trust me, they'll be learning about it soon. Maybe they'll learn about it from you. But Dr. Richard Du Bois said, there is nothing available anywhere else in the world with or without a prescription that has been clinically proven to do what Juice Plus does, which is pretty profound. So I'm going to, hold on. Sorry. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and then ask Megan to unmute herself and just share with us why she decided to add it and what she saw.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. So the reason Julie said it took me forever is because I stalked her for the first year and a half that she was taking it, and she was posting about it. And I'm like, no, like, I'm not going to fall for this. Like, there are a million products out there and everyone's selling something these days. And I'm like, I'm not buying into this. So I was always on an antibiotic, like probably at least every 2 months, because I would get allergies, sinus infections. I was always freaking sick. So I'm like, what do I need to be doing? And I wasn't the healthiest, and I'm still not the healthiest. I love McDonald's, and I love that study. It makes me feel better knowing that I take Juice Plus when I eat my Big Mac. So anyway, so I like messaged her, and I'm like, okay, fine, I'm going to do it. And I've been on it for 3 years. It feels like longer, but I have not had an antibiotic since I went on Juice Plus. I've not taken any allergy medicine, and I honestly just feel better. If it's because, we're human. If I skip maybe 2-3 days, I feel it. I get a cold sore. If I skip 3 days, I get a cold sore. I used to get cold sores probably every 6 to 8 weeks. I get one or two a year now. It's absolutely incredible, except when I'm pregnant, but your body does crazy things when you're pregnant. When I was pregnant, I used them as my prenatals. You just double them. And my doctor, my gyno, read about it, everything, and he approved it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. And I know there are a lot of things out there that people are trying to push on you. But that's why I don't push it that much. But finally, I'm like, Bradley he was like, I'm not taking that stuff. He's been on it for a year. And when he's sick, he doubles up. And he will never admit it, but he does, and he loves it. And so I give it to Viv. I mix it up in her yogurt, her applesauce, avocado, whatever, and she doesn't know the difference, but I know I'm giving her what she needs. It's really incredible stuff. I'm obsessed with it. I even posted again tonight because you don't want to be that annoying person trying to push yours. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna push it because we need to start caring about ourselves. And I don't exercise. And when I eat pizza for dinner, I'm like, well, I had 30 fruits and veggies today, so I'm okay. But that's pretty much it. I take the omegas. I take all 3, and I take the omegas. And the shakes are amazing. They're amazing. They don't have that like gritty, nasty that, I don't know. I love them.
Like the fake protein flavor. Or,
Yeah.
Well, what she didn't tell you is that she literally Googled negative reviews about Juice Plus because
I did.
Be on it. Right.
I was like, something tell me not to fall for this. Like, something tell me not. So I Googled it, and I could not find a thing negative about it. I really highly recommend Googling Juice Plus.
Well, and the bigger it gets, there definitely are things, and it's okay if you they are full of false information. But yeah, I'm happy Megan didn't find any of those when she.
No, I didn't find a thing. I was like, all right, fine, I'll do it.
Well, it's kind of a bummer that we're the two sharing with you tonight because we have very similar stories, and there are so many unique stories out there, and when it comes to so many different things. So if it's something you're thinking of, let us know. But I was the same as Megan. I was sick all the time. My whole childhood, I was so sick, I didn't realize it was weird. It was just every 6 to 8 weeks, I get a sinus infection, get an antibiotic. That was just my normal. I had chronic tonsillitis. My sister would be like, "You're always sick," and I'm like, "No, I'm not. It was just normal." So I, similar to Megan, was kind of dragged to an event about 5 years ago to learn about Juice Plus, and I was pretty annoyed because at the time at my office, all these people were selling products that were full of terrible ingredients. And I had spent 2 years learning about food and disease because of my mom's diagnosis with rheumatoid arthritis. And everything, I wanted to learn about the connection with autoimmune disease and how I could prevent it. And everything was telling me to juice and to eat more plants. And I knew I would never juice because that was just a lot of work. But I decided I would eat more plants. And so when I finally went to that event and learned, really what blew me away was that I could open the capsule and give it to my 6-month-old son. I was like, this is unique. This is unlike anything I've ever heard of. So when I learned that, I was like, just thankful. Somebody hit the easy button on getting a lot of nutrition into my body, and I got started on it with zero expectations. And I really encourage that. Like, if you do decide to get started on Juice Plus, I hope you'll do it because it just makes sense, not because you want to fix something. Because if I eat a salad for lunch, I don't eat the salad because I expect to feel different at 2 p.m. I eat the salad because I know it's good for me. But I was pretty shocked when 2 months in, I hadn't had a sinus infection. And here I am now, almost 5 years later, not been on an antibiotic for a sinus infection in that long. And just what that's done for my gut, not having to be on an antibiotic, is remarkable. But I found I had more energy. I found that I was happier, which I later learned over 80% of our serotonin is made in our gut. So it makes sense that you start feeding your gut a little bit better. It just starts to perform better. And then these omegas came out and I was very annoyed. I have a history of being annoyed. I thought, we have the best product. Why are we messing with perfection? But I trusted our company. So I got started on them. And at that time I had 2 babies. And every afternoon, my head would just start to go, like my mind would race and my face would get really hot and it would feel like my body was in slow motion, which I later learned, I believe, is anxiety. I'm pretty sure I was just having anxiety. I didn't know that. So here I was, I got on the omegas, and I don't know how long after because I wasn't paying attention, but maybe a couple months, I noticed that those episodes were gone. And I thought I was just really growing well spiritually. I was like, man, I am like getting in control of my personal growth and I just don't get stressed out anymore. And then I went to an event and I was talking to some women and they were like, my anxiety is gone ever since being on those omegas. And I was like, oh, I never connected that. So now I'm obsessed with these things. They taste like orange and vanilla. I chew them up every day. You don't have to chew them, but I do. And so do my kids. And so though I swear by our omegas. But similar to Megan, the night that I found Juice Plus, my sister decided to be a rep, and I looked at her and I rolled my eyes and I said, I will never, ever do one of those things. But after having a good experience and wanting to know why, I started looking more into the research. And when I looked into the research, I was like, kind of what Megan's little epiphany is lately, like, you know what? I'm telling people about it. I was like, I didn't think, you know what? I'm going to tell people. I thought, holy shit, everybody deserves to know about this. I specifically believe every mom deserves to know they put kale and broccoli into a capsule. I mean, that is just amazing. So that started a little over 4 years ago, and it's been so wonderful to share it. So what we really kind of recommend or just ask that you would do after this, little talk is, number one, maybe you're just at the point where you're ready to make some dietary changes. You're just ready to start eating more fruits and vegetables. And if that's where you're at, we totally embrace that. Whatever your next good step is, we support. Number two, maybe you're interested in adding in Juice Plus. It is amazing. It's so affordable. It's an amazing way to get a lot of nutrition. We have a wonderful program that Dr. Sears, America's Pediatrician, started, where any adult who takes Juice Plus can sponsor any child for free, age 4 through 18 or full-time college undergrad. So the child can get free Juice Plus for up to 4 years. Excuse me. It's an amazing program. Over 1 million kids have gone through it. So that really helps to make it more affordable for families. And then number three, if you heard this information and you thought of people in your life, oh, my mom, my sister, my cousin, they all need to know about this. If you thought of that, please let us know, because that really is our goal, is to inspire healthy living, in more families. And this is how we share the information. So let us know if you thought of anybody. So at this point, I'm